Hello and welcome to this week's BizSmart Lunch and Learn webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge amongst business owners, and this is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you are not already a member or a BizSmart client or would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website biz-smart.co.uk and go to the Smart Room page. Our host joining me today is BizSmart Select member Nigel Dunand from Sandler Training.
Hello.
But before we start today's webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have for Nigel, and he will do his best to answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, Nigel. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you very much for inviting me along to your studio. It looks very nice. I particularly like the decorations on the table, the flowers here, and a nice view out of the window. I see you went to a lot of trouble to make sure that your guests feel comfortable. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Sorry, we're just chuckling here. Caroline's actually in my office today. So, okay, so my name's Nigel Dunand. For those of you that don't know me, I really focus on sales mentoring, sales coaching, sales systems, a topic that most people find very ugly. Today, what I wanted to share with you was a concept that I stumbled across many years ago, and as soon as the light bulb went off for me, I had flashbacks to my times at university. When I went to university as an engineering student, we had a whole bunch of people at the university who really didn't do much work. They were known as psychology students. So us engineering guys, we had about 34 hours of lectures every week. They had about 4. So needless to say, there was a bit of tension between us. Now, what I later found out was that they knew something that was very, very valuable, but they just didn't know how to make money out of it. And one of those concepts is a concept I'm going to talk to you about today called Karpman's DramaTriangle. This whole concept started way back in around 1964. There was a guy called Eric Berne who wrote a book called Games People Play that was hugely popular in the States. And that was based off a paper he'd written in 1961 about transactional analysis. Now, transactional analysis is a field of study for these psychologists. And I am not going to give you all the theory behind that. What I am going to do today is share with you some of the basic concepts about this that can really help us build awareness that can help in these sales situations. Let me give you an example. And I'm going to start off with a non-salesy example. So the other day, as I'm getting ready to leave the house, I noticed my wife sort of puffing and blowing, faffing around, making those sorts of noises as she runs up and down, looks in every room. And of course, I then eventually say to her, "Oh, what's the matter?" She responds, "I can't find my car keys." Now, naturally, with being a good husband that I am, and certainly the desire to be an even better husband, I can't help myself, and I have to step in and say, "Do you want me to help you look for them?" And I am rewarded by a look from her that's like, "Oh, it's like I'm the knight in shining armor. Could you?" So now the two of us are looking all over the house. As time drags on, and I still haven't found these damn keys, and I'm looking at my watch thinking, I wasn't in a hurry to leave, but now I might be. The following words came out of my mouth without me really thinking about it. And those words, of course, were, "Well, where did you last have them?" Her response at this point is, "Well, if I bloody knew that, I wouldn't have," or some such thing. And right there is an example of what we call the Karpman DramaTriangle. and it's up here on the screen. Can they see this?
Yep.
Is that okay? I've only got 2 slides for this, 3 if we're lucky. Karpman DramaTriangle. So this guy Karpman came up with this concept whereby he said, look, in an interaction between a couple of people, maybe even 3 people, but when people interact, there are 3 roles, 3 positions that people might take: victim, persecutor, and rescuer. Let me spend a bit of time talking about these victim roles, each of these roles. So the first one, victim. The victim role is where someone appears like that they are a victim of circumstances. The victim, their first action, their first stimulus in this communication might not even be verbal. They may say something like, "Oh, damn computer," and that my response might be, "What's the matter? Oh, I can't get the printer to work. Oh, do you want me to help?" You know, that it may be verbal or it could be non-verbal. And sorry, did you hear that on the microphone there? That was the big sigh of frustration. So the victim is a certain plea for help. Some people just naturally spend a lot of time in this victim, and I don't mean victimized, I mean victim role, where they feel like I have the worst luck. Technology never works out for me. Oh, you know, if something bad's going to happen, it always happens to me. Or, you know, why do people always blah blah blah? It's the one down psychological position, which we can all take accidentally at certain times. The rescuer role is the one-up position. The rescuer role is someone that believes they something of value and they can help. They might naturally take this role fairly frequently because they feel as though they know more than other people, or they've got some sort of expertise, or they just are really keen to proffer their help. And again, being the rescuer is a trap that a lot of us can fall into. And the persecutor role is often a consequence of maybe messages from childhood. For example, oh, do you have the time? Response, why don't you buy a bloody watch? You know, that might be a victim being persecuted by a persecutor. The point is, Karpman came up with this concept is no matter where you enter this triangle from, we're in danger of all ending up in victim. Can you help me look for my car keys? Oh yes, I'll be delighted to. So I'm starting off as rescuer. My wife is victim. Followed by, where did you last have them? Which is a fairly logical question to ask, except for my wife misinterprets this and sees this as a critical parent type remark, and she switches to persecutor. Well, if I bloody knew that, I wouldn't have asked in the first place. And now I find myself moving to the victim position, saying to myself, I was only trying to help. Which is, if you've ever been in that situation where you feel like, oh, I was only trying to help, you are a victim of the Karpman's drama triangle. And if we're honest with ourselves and we play it back, we probably entered into this through one of those other two, attempting to rescue, or we take the persecutor role and they quickly flip it round back on us. Well, don't ask such a silly question then. You know, it might be a response, and now we feel like we're in victim. So, what's this got to do with sales? Here's what it's got to do with sales. And right here, if we understand this concept, and we have the self-awareness to figure out when we get ourselves into these situations, we can then start doing something about it. So let me give you an example. It's Friday. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Haven't left the office yet. Got an hour or so to work. and the phone rings, and it's a hot prospect. And they say to you, Caroline, if I can use an example, hey, Caroline, remember we met a while ago, and at that time I didn't really need any help with marketing. I do now. I've got a meeting with my boss. Can you go back over our notes, resend that proposal up, so I've got something to take into my boss in time for my 10 o'clock Monday morning meeting? Could you help me out? Caroline says, no problem. Has that ever happened, or is this a...
Yeah,
okay.
all the time.
All the time. Thank you. She's cooperating. This is what you call her. She then beavers away over the weekend, finishes late on Friday, has to finish it off on the weekend, gets this thing, all lovely presentation, all the information that this person needs sent out to her by the 10 o'clock. She's giving herself this pat on the back. Great. Monday afternoon, she follows up with her contact, wanting to know, how did the meeting go? Did you have all the information that you wanted, etc.? No response. Leaves a message. Okay. Following day, same thing. No response, haven't heard back. Round about Friday, Caroline finally gets a hold of this person. They pick up the phone. She says, oh, great, good to go. Yeah, Caroline, I just want to know that the Monday thing went out. Yeah, Caroline, I got all your messages. I'm busy right now. I'll call you back when I'm free. Boom. Now, it might not sound quite as aggressive as that. In fact, it might sound very nice. Oh, yeah, Caroline, thanks very much. But I'll call you back when I'm free. Boom. And now Caroline's left feeling like, God, I was only trying to help. I did all this work and blah, 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 blah. Have you got that?
Yeah. So
this is a very common trap that we can fall into as a sales person. It's a trap that can cost us a huge amount of time. It's a trap that can also make us really not feel very good about ourselves. It can certainly affect over time our self-esteem. And now we can start becoming, if we're not careful, even more of the victim. Oh my God, why does everyone do that to me? Why I spend all this time sending out quotes and they never get to... Why do people never return my phone call? And now we're starting to reinforce that victim mentality. So we almost expect it next time round. Oh, well, that's just the way it is. People always want a quote in a hurry, and then I jump to it and they never get back to me. And it's just... And you ever heard this one? Sales is a numbers game. And they sort of self-justify that position any way they can, as if there is nothing they can do about it. So step one here is we might want to consider increasing our awareness level in the day-to-day communication we have with people. What, am I stepping in to rescue too early? And is that what's putting me into victim mode? Or am I being a little bit critical of people and I'm coming across persecutorial in the first place? How do we get out of this? Well, Karpman came up with this theory, and it's been part of transactional analysis for many, many years. And it wasn't until around 1990 that this guy called, and his first name is an unusual first name, Acer. Acer Choi. Acer is spelled A-C-E-R. And he came up with, I'm pointing to my assistant, can we click the button for the next page? Something that he calls the winner's triangle. And the winner's triangle provides us with some alternative, an alternative mindset and an alternative behavioral habits in order for us to stay out of the drama triangle. He labeled these with 3 points, and I'll explain those. So vulnerable, nurturing, he actually uses the word caring, but nurturing, and assertive. So let me give you an example. Someone asks you for help, customer, prospect. Instead of leaping in, oh no, that's no problem, I can help you out, we're going to use all 3 points of this winner's triangle in order to make sure we stay away from the drama triangle. It might sound like something like this. Boy, not sure if I can help, which is a fairly vulnerable move. Sounds to me like this problem might be quite important to you. Nurturing. Is it important enough to you that we put a date in the diary and we sit down and talk about it in depth some more? So that is an example of where we are going to use those 3 positions to have what we call an upfront contract with the person. So this is really help with boundaries rather than rescuing. And as I tell everyone, remind everyone, good fences make good neighbors. So now, here's the problem. It doesn't work on my wife, but let's pretend it did. Having had that one experience, correction, I've been married for, got married in 99, so how long have we been married for now?
Long time.
18 years. This has happened more than once in our marriage, that exact same conversation, as I think some of these sales conversations happen over and over again. Can you send us a product? No problem. Can we get a demo? No problem. So here's how it might work with my wife. I might say to her, oh my gosh, what's going on? And she says, I can't find my keys. And I say, not sure if I can help because I've got to go out myself shortly. How about I take 5 minutes and help you look? And at the end of that 5 minutes, if we haven't found the key, let's then talk about a plan B. So I'm putting up little boundaries there. I'm okay to give up 5 minutes of my time without this feeling like it's got a little bit unequal. And now I've effectively, now psychologists call this contracting. In our Sandler world, we call it an upfront contract, where we agree in advance what's going to happen at the end. Let me give you another example. I've got one of my clients. They have request after request after request come via email for a price or a quote. Now, sometimes these are from existing customers, and they know that really they're not after a quote. They're after what we call confirmation of the order. They send the pricing out, and they get an order in. I'm talking about those ones that come in from people they really don't know. 90% of those end up going nowhere, but they can put a lot of time and effort into them. So, can you send us a price for this, blah, blah, blah? The response back is, via email this is, thanks very much for your quote. Looks like it might be important to you. Is this important enough to you that we have a quick chat on the phone before we put the time and effort in to do the quote? So right there, we're setting those boundaries. We're being nurturing, being assertive. It's not an unreasonable request for them to, before we put a lot of time in, to have a conversation on the phone. So, do you get that? Does that make sense, Caroline? Those examples. Sometimes people want to ask me, how does this work in management? Is that something you might want to ask me, Caroline?
I might ask you that at the end.
Okay, you might ask you that at the end. All right. Difficult. All right. So do we know if we've got any on-air questions coming in before I do that one? All right. So here's how this works in management. And this is a deadly, deadly trip. Flip back to the previous slide. Can we just pop back? So here's what can happen. A keen young manager, very keen to be seen to be super helpful to their employees, might say to them, hey, anytime you have a problem, come to me. My door is always open. And of course, the employees are pleased to go with this. So they start going to the manager with problem after problem, request after request, and now the managers ultimately feels this sense of frustration because they're constantly being interrupted by all this stuff. And then one day the manager erupts. He's tired of being rescuer. And he might say, can no one here get any work done? Can't you guys figure this out for yourself? And they erupt one day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because he's been rescuer for so long, he now feels like he's victim because all this stuff is being dumped on him. And now he'll switch to persecutor. He's gone through by himself the Karpman Triangle, but he got into this mess by starting off as being rescuer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, on our management programs, this is something that we would highly recommend, that you have an appropriate upfront contract with your staff to prevent you from being a rescuer, but instead we're going to do this nurturingly, assertively, and vulnerably, because without that, if we stay in rescuer, what we're actually doing is creating trained helplessness. We are training our employees to always come to us for the answers, keeping them stuck basically in that victim mode where they really don't want to be. If you're a sales manager, it can be even worse. Salesman comes to you, hey boss, I've got this great opportunity. Can you help? Oh, I'd be delighted to. He puts on his Superman cape and goes with the sales guy to the customer. And if they win the business, he looks like a hero. Of course, if they don't win the business, the sales guy says, I didn't really set it up for you, boss. But either way, the boss feels good. And now we're teaching the sales guy some learned helplessness. Oh, boy, if only I had access to the special pricing like my boss does, I'd be able to close more stuff. If only I knew everything my boss knows, I'd be able to close it. If only I had more training, I'd be able to close it. If only I blah, blah, blah. And we are training them to become victims. So that's how this thing can work in management. So if we flip to the other triangle, here's how we can avoid that sort of stuff. For example, we might say, I know you guys from time to time are going to want to come to me because you're going to need my help and guidance and stuff. Rather than having an open door policy, here's what we're going to do. My door is going to be open at certain times. I'm also going to have scheduled in the diary one-on-one meetings with all of you once a week. And those are those meetings you can bring up some of these challenges that you have. The meetings are going to be scheduled for an hour. If we need more time than that, then we can schedule a further meeting. So that's the upfront contract that they might have with them overall. Now, during the week when the sales manager gets interrupted, the sales manager, when the salesperson comes with a problem, hey boss, I got this problem, how do I deal with this? Sales manager can do a couple of different things here. He can say, that looks like that might be quite a problem for you. Is this important and urgent enough that we see whether we can fix this now? And by the way, I'm not sure whether I can help, but do we need a few minutes to fix it now, or can it work till later? Can we leave it till later? Over time, of course, more and more stuff can be left till later. Another good question for the sales manager to always ask is, boy, that looks like quite a problem. I think I've got some ideas on how we might be able to fix it, but I tell you what, before I do, if I wasn't here, how might you go about fixing it? Why don't we talk about that for a couple of minutes? So this is how we can take control of all these conversations and avoid getting stuck into the drama triangle. Of course, the trap for the manager in the drama triangle also is they'll suggest a solution. The employee will go and attempt to carry out the solution, and it doesn't work, and they come back and now saying, yeah, that was a stupid idea, boss, it didn't work. And now the boss feels like they're being persecuted again. So Karpman's triangle, winner's triangle, a helpful tool in management situations, in sales situations, And not with my wife, it doesn't work on her, but maybe you can figure out how some of these concepts will work with your spouse. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Let's see if you have any questions come through. Okay, yeah, you've got one, and the first one is from Sarah, and she says, thank you for that webinar. Where can I go to find out more information about this?
Great question. Okay, so couple of different areas. I can give you some references to books. I sort of mentioned at the beginning very briefly, but I can give you some book references. And then also, if you want to see this in action, then contact me, and maybe we can, we've got a Crash a Class program. Next time we're teaching this in one of our classes, we can bring you along and you can see this thing in action in our training room here in Birmingham at the Longbridge Innovation Centre. We do this most Wednesday mornings. I have a couple of sessions on a Wednesday morning, and I do my management sessions on a Thursday. Book reference. So, and my email address, is it on there for everyone? Nigel.Dunand@Sandler.com.
I can send it out.
Okay, Nigel.Dunand@Sandler.com, or if you Google me, Dunand is spelled D-U-N-A-N-D. I've got one of these names. I have to be very careful. Very Googleable. Yeah, very well. It's very Googleable once people can track me down and kill me very easily. Yeah. So, and now let me give you these book references. Eric Berne, B-E-R-N-E. He's really the founding father of transactional analysis. One of the books he wrote is Games People Play, published back in 1964. That's a great starting point. Still a good book, even today. Stephen Karpman, K-A-R-P-M-A-N. He wrote that book in 1968, and I'm just referring to my reference book, see if I've got the exact name of that book. Oh, I see, I can't talk and turn pages at the same time. E-F-G-H-I. Wish I'd known that question was coming up. I could have got that. I don't have Stephen Karpman. I'm sure you can find that. And also, oh no, I'm just looking in the wrong place. Here we go. IJK. It's Fairy Tales and Script Drama Analysis. 1968. It's a paper actually he wrote for the Transactional Analysis Journal. The other book that I would recommend, now this is far more modern. This is by Anita Mountain, spelt Mountain, and Chris Davidson. The book is called Working Together, published by Gower. And this is a pretty weighty tome. It's not the sort of book you're likely to pick up at the airport. This is a proper study book that you would find in a university library. The original hardback copy that I've got cost about £60–70. There is a paperback version available, and you can get these directly either from the publisher, that's Gower, or from Anita Mountain, and she's based in the West Midlands. She's the person that people like me go to for when they've got pretty in-depth questions about transactional analysis, because like a lot of people on the telephone here, I don't have 7 years of my life to give up to study the psychology behind all of this. So I pick out the stuff that's practical that my clients can use that gets them out of some of these common sales situations. I call what I do applied transactional analysis rather than claiming to be an expert on the theory. For that, you go to the books. So Eric Byrne, Games People Play, and Working Together, Anita Mountain.
Great.
Lengthy answer, sorry.
Thank you. No, that's fabulous.
Any other questions? Are we out of time, I hope?
Yeah, we're out of time, I'm afraid. But thank you again, Nigel, for hosting today's webinar. I will send out a copy of your presentation that has your contact details out to everyone today. So please do email any questions that you may have direct to Nigel, and I'm sure he will answer them as soon as he can. But before we close, this is just a quick reminder that this webinar is part of our service to our Smart Room members. If you're not already a member or a BizSmart client and would like to access our archive of webinars, then please visit our website, biz-smart.co.uk, and go to the Smart Room page. That's the end of today's webinar. Thank you all for listening, and we hope you can join us again all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.